All right, Realms of Strength, episode 39. Andrea Nisler. How the hell are you?
Doing great. Thanks.
You're
How
doing
are you?
great. I'm doing great.
Oh,
I'm
that's a
doing
new
so much
number.
better. I don't have, a living thing in my womb. Tell me what it's like to have a 16-week
Cool.
thing in your womb and you're still running a gym, you're still programming, you're still crushing it. You're just off of being at the peak of the sport for damn near a decade. So what does that feel like?
Oh,
Having,
yeah. Feels weird going from being like the fittest you've ever felt to being like unfit feeling in a weird way.
yeah.
I mean it's bound to happen. It's inevitable. It'd be odd if you were still super fit at that point, but it's mentally hard to deal with just because I'm not used to having this like time off to just let my body do its thing. Um, so it's a lot of getting used to.
Yeah.
Like,
What's the biggest adjustment you've had to
mm,
make as time goes on? I mean, obviously the morning sickness was a thing. We already kind of previously touched on that off
yeah.
camera, but
Biggest adjustments just been at the gym, like understanding that I'm gonna not be able to push as hard or like lifts aren't gonna go as well. I can't expect I can't use my old numbers to do percentages now.
okay. Does that mess with your head? That would mess
Yeah.
with my head.
Yeah, it makes me panic.
Yeah.
Like, is it ever gonna come back? Or like,
Mm,
is it gone forever? Or is this much time off really gonna hinder everything?
mhm,
Which there are a lot of women that have like had children, then came back to the sport, for instance, and have been just as strong and just as good. So like in the back of my head, I know that's not true. But
mhm.
when like right now, it's just hard to kind of fight with that thought.
Yeah. Yeah. No, when you agreed to come on, and I low key told a couple people who are in the CrossFit world that you were coming on, and they all knew who you were. They probably know your last name, how to pronounce it correctly too. By the way, I'm sure they do.
Right.
And they were very low key. Like you have to 100% put out a feeler and ask people like any questions they want to ask. I was like, all right, I'll do that. I'll do it the morning of, and they weren't lying. Like I got blown up with questions, and one
Oh
of
wow,
them,
I was surprised. I was like, wow, I hope they get at least like two questions.
oh, I got quite more than two. I
Oh,
got
cool.
quite more than
Okay.
two. So this is usually how I want to do at the end, but since we kind of led with that, and it's on a topic we could talk about off camera before coming on, I got to lead with it.
Sure.
A lady who's also pregnant, she's also in CrossFit. Would love to hear about your plan for pregnancy and working out throughout the pregnancy as it goes forward.
Yeah, all right. I'm kind of going in. There's no set plan. I'm just kind of waiting to see how my body feels. So like right now, all of the movements, like except like GHDs, I'm not doing those, but
No,
no, it's
no,
I've heard not to. It makes sense not to engage your core that much.
yeah,
I'm fine. I don't like those either anyway. I get
that's
headaches.
fair. They're horrible for your lumbar too. I don't
They're not, yeah, I know. To do those for
not
time. The one movement I said actually that like when I'm done competing, I will never do it again. So
okay.
cool with that. But no, I'm just feeling it out to see kind of like, your body, and I'm going to do movements that I can still do until it feels like I don't have control of those movements anymore.
Hmm.
So for me, that still means like bar muscle ups are still fine because I can control, like not hitting the bar, or like ring muscle ups are also still fine, or rope climbs. Like I feel like I can very much control my body
Hmm.
and safely do them. Whereas some people who maybe just learned how to do these movements a year ago or something don't have that kind of control. So maybe it isn't safe. Like you should just
Yeah,
know like when you're in full control and when you're not for a
yeah,
movement.
yeah. I mean, not to derail the question, but I've had this conversation with a masters athlete and actually an open CrossFit athlete in the last 3 weeks when it comes to like GHD sit-ups
Yeah.
and how it's like you're like, yeah, probably not a great idea anyway. And like as a strength and conditioning professional, from my perspective, I don't like the idea of that massive abdominal stretching, borderline tearing. I'm not a fan of what's doing to the lumbar. I'm not a fan of the psoas lock it's going to cause the next day. I've watched people do that and then come
Yeah.
in, do things they should be very capable of doing, and everything just shuts down. So I
Mhm.
like on that regard, like I'm I'm tracking on that. There's some things you can do, some things you
Yeah.
can't, you know?
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
it's a great movement for like accessory and skill, but I don't
Hmm.
think it should be something that's ever done for time, especially when you get the med ball involved too. And just like, I don't know, CrossFit kind of missed the mark on that one.
Mm-hmm. What games was it when they actually did that? Was like a GHD sit up and they threw a med ball.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It
Yeah.
was an individual and it was before my time.
Yeah, it was a minute
Like,
ago. Yeah.
it was either 2013 or earlier, so
Right.
I'm not sure. But we've had stuff at the games with teams where we'd have to toss a med ball to each other. We'd be like facing
Like
each other.
opposite.
Yeah.
Okay. So Andrea, this is Joe.
Hi.
Joe, this is Andrew.
Hey, how's it going? Sorry it took me a second
Great.
there. I
No,
was just
you're
finishing
fine.
up with a patient.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I was like, all right, I gotta get going.
That's good. You're pulling a power
but
move and you're
anyways.
doing it in the gym. That's great.
Yeah,
You're
check
pulling
it
a power
out. Yeah,
move.
so
You're in your space in Phoenix.
Nice.
That's great. That's
yeah,
great.
exactly. No, yeah, it's nice to meet you. Yeah.
You too.
So we were just talking about. So Andrea is 16 weeks pregnant. She's decided to bring life into the world, much like your wife has done twice.
Yes.
And so, can you speak from your perspective, just when you were watching your wife? Your wife's a very active person. Of course, I knew her, worked with her before she was pregnant the first time around, like very active. Yeah. When you watch her progression, when you get to like that week, like 16, about where Andrea is at, what did you see shift these two times when she was pregnant?
Well, there was a couple things, so she's the perfect person to ask, but from my perspective, from watching, and like also, Andrea, I'm a chiropractor and a strength coach as well. And so I've seen this a lot with a lot of my patients, especially active ones or even non-active ones, just around the mark of like, that the first trimester versus the second versus the third, how far along they're going, like your body adaptations, no one can predict it perfectly, like when you're going to start feeling something new. But for my wife, I remember right around this exact time, like 14 to 16 weeks, she was doing split squats, and she came home and she's like, I can't do split squats anymore. There's just something wrong in my pelvis. And so I think that with a little bit of the hormone shift, starting to get used to like, okay, your body's preparing to take on more fluid, and you're starting to get a little more, not that much relaxin showing up that early, but your body's prepping for that. I think she started to feel those things. So she had to start to regress a couple of like the heavier movements for herself around there. Another one that I want to say that really got her was actually like a jog to running pace was like a no-go for her. So anything where she had to like really extend her hip.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. But other patients that I've had, they've like, they don't feel anything at all. Like they're just, I've been doing everything I did. I just modify as needed. Like I'm still doing split squats. I'm still deadlifting. I'm still doing cleans around my bump, whatever it might be. It just seems to, everybody's just a little bit different, and it's so unpredictable. They'll be like, am I having a boy or a girl? Well, it's hanging high, so it must be a girl. If it's hanging low, it must be a boy. It's like, it's a toss up.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing, to be honest.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I hear that
I'm not into the wives' tales.
Yeah, well, that's good. You're more of a realist. Tell me what it is. Yeah. Well, congratulations. It's super exciting. It's your first one.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Probably a one and doneer, but yep.
You're not gonna do 4?
I'm also 35, so I will be.
Yeah, by the time you're 40, you could have 4.
Yeah.
There you go.
I checked my bank account and it said no.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, owning a gym doesn't bring it in.
Not for 4 kids, no.
Yeah, no.
Also, just no. Oh,
it doesn't bring it in for one puppy in Columbus, so I can imagine. I can imagine.
Yeah, Minneapolis isn't like the cheapest city either. Yeah.
No. It didn't seem to be. Didn't seem to be when I was there. But
you're just here.
Yeah, I was in and out. So now that you're kind of, that in shape woman, out of shape woman, somewhere in there fighting to hang on to the remnants before your massive comeback.
Yeah.
So what point, go through just real quick and then we'll get to the question. All the times you said to me, all the times you've been to the game, to other team or individual. And then once you go through that, so that everyone who doesn't quite know who you are understands the level that you've been at for as long as you've been at, sustainable. At what point did you realize, or did you learn for yourself, this is how I have to train for myself when I'm not training with my team? Mm-hmm. This is like, for me individually, this is what I have to do on my own. So you can go through like everything you've done, and then when did you discover that?
Oh, it actually was a learning curve. So in the beginning, I just always thought more was better, which was really stupid. I would literally just like grab workouts from all different blogs and like bounce around programming. I'd have someone write programming for me, but I still didn't think it was enough. So I'd add like at that time, like a comp train workout, and then I'd go grab something from like a Mayhem workout and try to, I'm talking like 2015 through like 2018. So I
Okay.
did this for enough years where like, and then eventually I started getting injured. I got really wore down. I wasn't making progress, and stepped back and like just focused on taking workouts and putting all my intensity into like 2 to 3 things a day, and
Mm-hmm.
like hitting like 2 good lifts rather than spreading it all out. And also like breaking things up, even when something doesn't look like it's a lot of volume, learning to like do something in the morning, take a break, eat lunch, like coach a class, whatever, have that break, and then come back later makes a world of difference.
Yeah. Sounds
Um,
between like about 2015, 2018, you were doing everything, and then you started to actually piece it
yeah.
out around
Yep.
2018, 2019. You're like, okay, I need more pieces
Yeah.
rather than
It's kind
everything.
of a blessing in disguise. I in 2018 I blew up my ACL and meniscus and all that. So it was kind of like a time for me to reset. And it really, that's where I like, after that year is when I really peaked. I learned so I obviously, it took a while, a couple months to come back and like be training again. So learning to take things and focus more on like my body and how I'm moving is way more important than just moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I see a lot of younger athletes or people just entering the sport do this. A lot of people fall into the same mistakes. You automatically think like doing 5 Metcons is going to be so much better than doing 2.
Mhm.
But if you're just doing them to do them and there's no rhyme or reason, you're just doing yourself a disservice. I mean, you're just going to be wore out and you're going to feel like crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Joe, how often do we talk about that? Just
Quite a bit. I think that's the last 3 conversations we've had, and
yeah.
I literally just finished a conversation with an elder woman that just left my office, who I met because of the gym I was going to that closed down, and she took a huge break. She's coming off of a lot of like serious ailments, not musculoskeletal. We're talking health things that really deterred her health and potentially was not going to make it. So
Mhm.
now that she's doing fine after a couple of years, she wants to go back to CrossFit. And we had that discussion a couple of weeks ago. I was like, hey, like, what have you been doing? You just been kind of recovering. You went through a lot of things, and you got to be prepared to take on what you were. And by the way, you're 60, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so she went to a gym, and this gym offers what they call like I think the name is like Impact Hour. And Impact Hour is more of like their onboarding style class. So
Mhm.
everything's without a barbell. I don't think anything's heavier than 30 pounds on a dumbbell. They're breaking down movements. So if it's a barbell lift, they're breaking it down to like, oh, we want squat cleans. You're going to be doing a goblet squat. So they do a pretty good job there. But she didn't know that that class was available. And luckily, she decided to take that class, and she was in here, pretty excited about it. And she's like, yeah, but I think I should do this for maybe like 2 weeks, and then I'll go back to the other class. In your experience, what would you recommend to a person that walks into your gym like that? What would you be saying? I'd be curious.
Um, yeah, so we actually also have a low impact class, and I
Mhm.
encourage like not just older people, but anyone that comes in with like an injury or like just brand new to CrossFit, or I don't know, if they're just needing like a mental break, it's a great thing to do and kind of break everything down. I do think depending on what you're pairing it with, it's not terrible to switch between the two. I mean, I don't know. It can, if
Yeah.
she could bounce back and forth, that would be the best probably.
Yeah, I would think so too. I was more concerned with her, more from like the cardiovascular output that she might put herself through. I think that, so I told her, I was like, I'd give it a little bit longer than 2 weeks. You just got back. It's been 2.5 years since she's physically
Oh,
done anything. So,
yeah, maybe give it like 6 months.
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, let's give you a little more time. Like, let's just get you back to a habit. And hopefully that clicked. We'll find out next week when she comes back in. Um, but right now she's dealing with some, just mechanical issues, like when it comes to restoring her squatty pattern that used to be so clean, quote unquote, like
but
for
you also
her.
got to remember it's hard because a lot of us that get really into CrossFit, like, this is going to sound bad, it's not, but like it's kind of a mental illness in a way. Like eventually, like you become so addicted to it, and it's so hard to dial back because it gives you such gratification when you're all in. So learning to be okay not being where you're at and not going all in right away is really hard.
Yeah. No, I'm hoping, but so I was going to CrossFit gym for like 10 to 12 years. So I'm not as fit as you are, but I really enjoy high intensity. I love that feeling too. So like that mental illness you speak of, I have a similar issue. But like there's a time where I gotta like put my foot down and be like, hey dude, you went through a lot of chemo and I get it, but you need this sense. The one thing I love about the box is like you get this huge sense of like uplifting, and it really fills that cup of I'm doing more than I thought, and I'm capable of doing more than other people anticipated, right? That tends to happen super routinely for you, or you see it literally every moment of the day, which I think is super valuable. And that's why I think CrossFit has been so powerful in the community.
Yeah. It's like a cup of endorphins every class.
Yeah, not just a couple.
Yeah. So I still find myself doing sometimes like 3 hours of working out a day. Like the last couple of weeks, I'm like, what are you doing, Andrea?
Yeah.
Stop.
Well, let me ask you this, because I didn't expect you to bring up that subject where, of course, you started with like doing, as many people in CrossFit do, they start by doing everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything under the sun. Either that's because that's what they've seen on YouTube, because that's one day in your life. That's one day in Name the Athlete's life, and they're just an uber stud, and that's what they're doing all day. That they have no job. That is their job. So they can kind of get away with it. And what you're saying is, narrow it down and put more intent and more maximal precision and more intensity into less throughout the day. Just get more out of it. What does that conversation look like? Say you have a potential stud comes to Timberwolf, and she is just hard, just banging all the time, and it's going to happen. What conversation do you have with them? How do you phrase that?
Yeah, I've actually had this conversation with a handful of people that have come in. It happens more than not, even if they don't have intention of competing, they just like love it and they want to go for broke, or even if they're just prepping for like a local comp. It doesn't have to be someone that has games aspirations. You'll see people in there. So we have like 24-hour access open gym. We have a lot of open gym time. So the gym allows itself, like the schedule allows people to live like that.
Right.
So I just kind of let them know, like, I mean, it's still up to you at the end of the day, but just explain to them like, hey, I already like kind of not wasted a few years doing that, but in a sense I did. Probably could have gotten a lot better those beginning years. And I would just have loved if someone kind of sat me down at that time and told me what I was doing was really stupid. No one did. So I'm just giving you that knowledge now. You can take it or leave it. I mean, everyone's adults. They can run with it or not. And I've seen people listen, and I've seen people not. So yeah.
Do you tend to tell them like, this is what happened to me?
Yeah.
Or do you give them that tale, or just tell them like, listen, neurologically you're gonna burn out, and then you're gonna feel horrible?
No, I'm very open about it. I can also just show you like my statistics, or like how you can go back, even if you just want to look at open scores, like after 2018 that they suddenly got way better. It was for a reason.
So you've been on a team 7 times, and then the 8th time, or 8 times the games, but one of those was individual in 2020.
Yeah, and well, 8 times with the team, and then 9 times
counting individual.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So your first team to the games was that 2015, 2016?
2014.
2014. Okay. A baby. Just a baby.
So, that was back when you basically, women, if you could do a ring muscle up.
Oh, you're in.
Team.
Yeah.
You can snatch 135?
Oh yeah. No.
Oh, you're in. You're in like Flynn.
Regionals had a max snatch, and I hit 135 at it, and I just thought, oh, Like
Cake.
I'm so strong. This is amazing.
It's like absolute
Yeah.
tits. This is great. Throw
This
that
is
blue
my
plate on
peak.
there.
I'm
That's what I'm
never
talking
gonna
about.
get better than this. Yeah. Yeah.
So those,
It's hilarious.
so basically, so let's just rough this out. So let's say 2014 through 2018, you're doing 4 years, not counting, leading into that, let's be honest. But those 4 years of just obscene amount of volume.
Yeah, so I still had a desk job at the time too. So I would get up at like 4:30-ish to like get to the gym by 6:30. I'd train until like the very last minute. I had to be to work by 9. So I'd train till like 8:45, run to the office sweaty, stink. I don't know why they put up with me at this office. I was like I'd still have a headband in my hair that was just all sweaty. And then like the minute 4 o'clock hit, I was out of there to go spend more time at the gym till like 8 p.m.
Oh wow.
It was so stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was there, and you told us there was a shift at one point though. Come on,
Yeah.
2018. Do you remember that moment, that impetus where you're like, "Ooh, if I did this, I felt better," or "This guy does this and he's incredible," or "She does this," and it hits you? Was there any one moment, even small, where it started to click in your mind?
Well, honestly, it took for me to get really injured. So that's when I was doing my rehab
So
and
just
kind of
the
like
okay,
building back. I wasn't able to take on as much volume. So by default, I couldn't. But then I kind of stuck with focusing more on training than on volume, and it just worked really well.
Spikes.
Yeah.
That's what I have a lot. And it's funny, I have an athlete now, male. Same thing. He had a massive injury that sidelined him for like 3 months, and he had to complain. He's a stud. He is the uber stud of Ohio. Like he really is. He had to scale back so much. And then, but when he scaled and he met certain people and started thinking about his training in a better, smarter way, now it's like his squatting volume's way down, but his cleans are up, snatches are up, squats are up.
Yeah.
Everything's gone up. Everything feels better. Like, and Joe, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but in your world, when you work with like UFC fighters, is that scenario you run into with them, where the volume with them is so obscene, and you kind of take it, you refine it, and bring it down a little bit?
Yeah, I see something very similar. And then also the feedback for their like actual MMA training tends to be a lot cleaner, a lot nicer. They feel springier, they feel more elusive, they feel more explosive. Yeah, I mean, I think I heard a podcast a while back that was called like the volume problem. And it really, I think when it comes to designing a program for, like, if I'm just working out and I'm like, oh, I just need to get kind of in shape and I want to be kind of jacked, like that programming is, you can play with a lot of different things. But when it comes to, we have a target in sight, whether it's CrossFit, a competition, or it's a cycling competition, or it's MMA, or it's football, or it's this, or it's that. There's you can't break them down so much to the point that they can't go use it in the thing that they're going to go try to do,
Yeah.
And the funny thing with CrossFit is that the thing is the modality, right?
Yeah.
So the training is the modality and the outcome is this. So it's like, if you want to get good at CrossFit, you have to practice CrossFit. But if you want to get strong, you have to practice being strong. And you can't bring it, when you're trying to train for it, you can't bring them both into the same pocket. You got to have those separations. And that's where you see people, the volume drops, and then you see impressive numbers, like the numbers go up. It's not necessarily rocket science. It's hard to say out loud to some people, because they're like, what do you mean? Like, I bench pressed 315 for 10 reps. It's like, well, are you trying to get stronger? Like, yeah, what happens when you put 330 on the bar? They're like, oh, dude, I crap out. I can only hit like 1 or 2. I'm like, that's such a massive strength discrepancy. It's really cool you can do that for 10, but boy, you should be putting up 405.
Yeah, I mean, in that regard, because Andrea, if you didn't know this, the bench press is the king of all lifts. I don't care what anyone says. Snatching is dumb.
Yeah, no.
No one does that
Squatting
anymore.
is useless.
It's like doing wall balls. No one does that anymore. It's garbage.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you something that's very interesting. I remember, Joe, this reminded me of this. I remember being told by a strength and conditioning coach.
Sorry about the dogs. Someone must have walked by the door.
Oh, I couldn't hear him.
Oh, yeah, you can't?
I can't hear him, no. Beautiful.
You really can't?
I really can't.
Okay, keep
Not
going
yet.
then.
Not yet. Being told, like, well, how do you define like strength? Like in your world, like if I'm like NFL, like Andrea, I know one date, and that's the NFL Combine, because that to me is like the Super Bowl of strength and conditioning. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
200, 225 on the bar as many times as you can. Like that's how they define strength at that point. Powerlifting and being at Westside, like 1 rep on a bench. That's what strength is. Like, what's strength in CrossFit? Like, I mean, everyone has their own denomination. I would say if you're good between 3 to 6 reps, I think you're really good. I think 1 reps are phenomenal, but I think since 2009, if you don't count ladders, you're talking like 9 1-rep maxes. Something like that, like or 10. Maybe I haven't looked at this past year's games, but it's something where it's like, why rehearse that when I know?
It doesn't even, they started doing this thing where you just get 2 attempts. So I don't even count that as like a max, because it's not your ceiling, not even close.
Right.
You're just taking safe lifts.
How do you mean they only give you 2 attempts?
Well, so they give you literally walk out to the field and you have 2 attempts.
After you've warmed up in the back?
Can you not hear those dogs going crazy?
No, I can't.
Okay, thank God. I forgot there's someone here to pick up a chair that I put out in the driveway, and it's definitely happening.
They're going crazy.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Chair.
Anyway, yeah, so you get, it's not even 3. 3 attempts like allows you to have a fun one, you know, like hey, let's see what happens. But 2 attempts is stupid. You need a safe one to hit, and then you can only go up so much.
Right. You can only have fun once.
Yeah.
At that point.
Not even.
Is that a new thing that happened this year?
So bigger comps did it a few times, like Dubai did it, Wadapalooza did it. And then the semifinals did it before, which is like the step before the games.
I get, yeah.
Okay, and then the games brought it out this year, like, ooh, cool. You know what's cool? A window of time, because then like who's gonna take chances, who's gonna take risks, who can start with big numbers, and like who can lift under fatigue as well that way, and who's gonna put up big numbers.
Yeah.
The crowd doesn't want to see that either. That's so stupid. My 2 cents.
No. What if you had to change one thing about the CrossFit Games? What would it be?
One?
Yeah, unfortunately, let's start with one, because we can go down a list. Don't worry, but like, one thing every year, like we're gonna do this different, or we're gonna do this event, or we're gonna do this, whatever it is. What is it?
Well, I think overall the last like 2 or 3 years have started showing a lot of like weird circus acts. It feels like a lot of like really like specific gymnastic stuff that like it's getting kind of ridiculous, like where half the field can attempt it and do it, a fourth of the field is good, and then the other like half of the field below that is just terrible. Like things like so they gave it to the individuals, thankfully, and not us, but they had this insane like handstand obstacle, and like you had to like jump onto a box with your hands, pirouette around the box, walk down the ramp, and then there's like walking on the parallel bars and stuff like that. And it's just getting too cutesy that way, like the LC legless rope climbs, and I don't know, just bring back CrossFit. That's it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's more like a ultimate skills ninja warrior challenge versus like who's fit and who's strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
At that time, it's just it's Ninja Warrior, and it's who's ever like the lightest or has the most gymnastics background ends up doing really well at these new implements.
Yeah.
Or like the double crossovers. The first year they had those out, everyone looked so stupid, and then we all went back and practiced them, and like I can do a few. I'm not good, but we look bad.
Yeah.
Stop making us look bad.
Right. No.
Well, it reminds me of like, was it 2013 or no, 2014, they introduced the pegboard.
I think for team, I don't know.
So I remember when they did the pegboard, and you watch that, like, first off, the fitness and the skill combined makes sense. So when you see the pegboard show up in the future, I'm like, okay, I understand that. But I'm right there with you when it comes to like watching the facade, the circus act of CrossFit at the games, when they're like, all right, you're going to have to go up this ramp, down these stairs, pirouette, and then, oh, by the way, if you want to cross the finish line, you have to do a double tuck back hamstring. It feels like that's where it's going. Like you're going to have to start doing flips. And it's like, you're not challenging fitness. No. You're just challenging a skill.
Yep.
So that's my issue with those things. And I do think that when they did the crossover, I was like, why? I would love, that's the question.
so they can practice it. Like, this is our Super Bowl of like our event. Like,
Yeah.
people tune in to see impressive things, and when you have people just failing and standing there, it's not impressive.
Yeah. I
Wait, how
remember
about one more thing. Bring back
Yeah.
swimming. I mean, why was there no swimming?
Wow.
Swimming was always exciting. I always, you know what? Remember when are they still doing paddle boards?
I mean, they had them the last like 5 years. Yeah.
So the ocean swim was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. When it was back in California.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of people
when it was in
complained about that
California.
though. They
You know, it was
complained the
so
chop
cool.
wasn't even for everybody. So they weren't.
There is
excited.
that. And I
Yeah.
get that. Like, if one heat, it's like kind of calm, and then like 2 heats later, it's
The
just like,
day goes on.
yeah,
Yeah.
that sucked. You know what was cool though, and very even for all, was just pool, lap swimming. That was amazing. This is
Yeah.
the best programmed event that I have ever done. I also grew up a swimmer.
Yeah.
But
And
it
I
was
crushed
great.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
It's fun in that one.
Yeah, no, I remember that pegboard year because I remember watching it and seeing no one, like, how many people make it? You count on one hand, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Only a couple. Not a lot.
Oh, dude, I had Sam Briggs on last season, and she said the same thing. She was like, no one was.
Oh yeah, she was actually there.
Yeah, she's doing it. It's like no one's
Yeah.
making it. And I remember hearing a story. I don't want to put words in her mouth. I remember hearing a story for her or someone else who was there, and the tester that ran that, a female, couldn't do it. Or if she did it, she barely made it. She's like,
yeah,
that's probably not a good decision. They're like, let's do it.
Well, the other
anyway.
part that made that the best part about it, like from a viewer standpoint, I don't know. I look at things this way. It was see-through, and it's the first time they're ever doing it, and it's like really high up. It looked like, and you're just staring right into the crowd.
yeah.
So you have all these faces of people that are like, are they gonna make it? And they're like, no, they're not gonna make it.
No.
People
Or
getting
even-
pegs stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, the see-through ones are hard too, because no one really has those in their gym, and then you stick it in the Coliseum and all the lights are around.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's
the
actually
big
very
flare.
disorienting to like see the holes and where to put the pegs in. I didn't that felt scary.
Yeah.
We got a pegboard.
Movement, but yeah.
We got a pegboard. I'll show it to you right here.
Is it the
That, like, the one that you're
Yeah.
talking about is pretty scary, but I think these are a lot scarier
why?
because it always reminds me that someone just made it in the back of their shed, and they're
Well,
like, "Hey, I
it's
made this for
homemade. I
you."
didn't notice that. Also terrifying
Yeah.
if you fell, you're gonna hit all of that rig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't get used too often,
No.
but it's there. It's there for
Mine
Ooh.
in my gym is only for me, basically. No one else really touches it.
Let me toss this out to you, because I've tossed this out to other individual competitors and like team competitors before. Half of them think it's a great idea. Half of them think it's the worst idea because it would no longer be constantly varied or unknown.
Okay.
What if every year at the games, the first of Joe, this is not a UFC in the octagon thing. Before you even, I know your mind's going. The answer is no. We're not doing that. First event is a USAW sanctioned Olympic weightlifting meet. Every year. So you were absolutely fresh and you were just throwing out the big numbers and you know it's coming.
I don't
Absolutely
hate it. If they're gonna stick with this 2 attempt thing, I mean, we always clean and jerk or snatch, or this year they did both. Like,
Right.
That's a way better option.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna be really lukewarm about it. It's an okay idea.
Oh, thank you.
I don't love or hate it.
Okay. Let's see how lukewarm about this one. And the last thing you do every year is a hero wad. Doesn't have to be Murph. Has to be
it
hero
could just
wad.
be any hero wad.
Any hero wad.
That's fine too.
Just standard. Nothing obscenely crazy.
Yeah.
Just like that. So like one's coming, you're gonna empty the tank.
Sure.
And just
I mean, you're
blast
probably
it.
gonna empty the tank anyways for whatever the last workout is, I hope. But
I would hope so.
I mean, there's such a wide variety to choose from. But yeah, that's fine.
Okay. See, Joe, I'm taking over the games.
Yeah, I really do like that idea. I think that makes sense. The one thing that I do like about that, is it the third day of the competition they usually do the max lift, or a second?
It's just different. I
doesn't
think it's depending on just schedule, honestly.
Okay. So, well, at least like the Coliseum stuff with the individuals, right? They'll usually make a really big thing of it.
Yeah.
I really like how it showcases, like this past couple, like, was it last year or the year before, where they did the sandbag clean?
Yeah, that's not really a max lift though. That was also
Well, one thing it did, I think it exposes other forms of like fitness sports.
yeah.
They expose strongman for what it is. So like the people in local competitions, at least out here in Arizona, you got some pretty high level strongman competitors. They're watching these CrossFitters, on the second, third day of competition, pick up a 300-pound bag or a 250-pound bag as a female. And they're thinking to themselves like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like, how are they doing that? So it's changing, it changes the game for other sports, which is, I do like that. I think it's cool because it shows like these people that I'm sure strongman will be like, yeah, but can they pick up a bag? It's like, well, here they are. They're picking it up on the second or third day of competition, not day one.
Or Rogue had the log last year.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
Oh, all that strongman stuff's coming. It's
Yeah.
too easy. It's too easy not to have done.
Yeah, it's very
too
easy.
easy.
They've had the yoke for years too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the name of the competition that's Andrew? It's out in oh, heaven help me. I feel like SoCal or San Diego, and the guy that runs it is known for like being really up on like what CrossFit's going to do next.
I don't know.
I forgot. I got told this a week, 2 weeks ago,
San
and
Diego?
name rung in my. Was it?
You saying in San Diego?
I want to say so, somewhere in SoCal, but it was a big competition, had individuals in it, had like members of teams that like went and competed, and they broke out the yoke and did a Zercher carry with it, which has been done at the games.
Oh,
but it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, and people were like falling apart. They had no idea what was going on. It was blowing their minds.
I mean, that's cool. To be honest, I really don't know.
The biggest one out there.
Yeah.
It isn't the biggest one out there. I thought it was NorCal. NorCal Classic or Golden State Games.
Oh,
like up in Northern.
That one this past year. That was only a few weeks ago. It was like September something.
Yeah, because Ben and Blair are pretty close with Dave.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's that one. I don't know.
Yeah.
There wasn't any like new stuff this year though. So.
Okay.
You have fun in that one?
No, I was really sick. So I mean it was fun and it was like a cool area and everything, but it was like the heat of my morning sickness. So yeah. Oh, but there was kayaking. That was really fun actually. Like a sunrise kayak event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. I used to live in Sacramento, so I know all those guys pretty well, and girls.
Yeah.
Good friends. Okay. Yeah, I imagine doing that. So you're 16 weeks. So how long ago was it? Was it 3-4 weeks ago?
I was like 11 and a half weeks along. So
still in that first trimester.
I didn't know. Yeah. I agreed to do it like months before. So I didn't.
Yeah.
When I agree to do something, I'm not going to not do it if I physically can. So yeah. And
speaking like a true games athlete. That's awesome.
Well, I also wanted to get away for a little bit. So that was fun.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
So going from like all these different teams, can you go through each one and then make mention of what was the biggest shift in training when you went from team A to team B, team B to team C along the road?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the first one was just a hodgepodge of people that could do CrossFit and they happened to just like do it. And we went to the games. It was just, we were all from the same gym. And we had it was teams of 6 back in the day. So we had 3 girls that could actually do ring muscle ups. And we're strong for the time. So it worked out. And I don't know. I didn't even know what the games was. They told me we were going. I was like, cool. So then that kind of fired me up to like actually start training more and like do more. So then we didn't make it the next year, which really pissed me off. So then I added more volume thinking that was the problem. It wasn't. Yeah. And then so we finally made it back in 2016. Again, we didn't have a great team though. You had to grab from your affiliates. So we kind of grabbed people, still made it, but like, I don't know. I wasn't happy just making it. So, 2017, we actually recruited a few people. So that's when my training, I started hiring a company to program for me because I really wanted us to do well. Not that it's just one person that can make or break it, but you know. So anyway, I started like going through a company, paying for programming, kind of made it more, that's when I started really putting aside my desk job to train. Eventually I got fired for that. It was fine. It's fine. I deserved that very much so. Yeah, so I was putting a lot of emphasis on training, that's when I started to also look at what I was eating. And I started really focusing on that. I used to just train on an empty stomach every morning leading up to that, which that's not going to get you anywhere. So learning to do my strength training at optimal times. And I put a lot of emphasis on strength starting then, which I think is great. If you're not coming in with strength, I certainly was not. I started CrossFit at like 120 pounds tops. This past season, I competed at like 157 pounds. So there's a big discrepancy there. So adding strength is huge in the beginning. So we really focused on that, but was still overdoing the Metcons. Then in 2018 is when I decided to join a team that was not my affiliate. I moved to Iowa, joined OC3. And that was when it was really like the first team experience where we trained together a lot. So I was just kind of doing whatever they wanted to do with my own strength on the side, more or less. I don't know. All these years is just kind of like do whatever you want. So, it wasn't really, and then 2019 was the same thing. That's the year they had super teams. That was actually really fun because you could just bounce around and switch teammates.
Okay.
None of these years have like defining like training, I guess, for me. I guess I was always just like following a program after that and just doing exactly what the program had.
Okay.
But that was the year I also bought the gym. So I started doing it full time.
Oh yeah.
Able to actually like sleep well and do my training in the middle of the day, you know, like when things are better. And that's when I really saw a peak happen. Not that everyone can do that. You certainly can't. So.
Because listening to that, it would sound like, yeah, training is just training. It is what it is. Volume was too high. But what really happens, what makes it better is when you buy your own gym.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Hear
When
that,
you buy
Joe?
your own facility where you can go whenever you want.
There you go.
You can wait till your body feels like doing what you got to do instead of waking up at 5 a.m. to rush to the gym. Yeah, that's when it really starts to turn around for you. So yeah, starting that year, I saw a lot of like increase in strength. I saw myself getting better at Metcons. I was doing better at competitions we'd go to. Yeah, and then 2020, that's the year, like obviously COVID and shit. So they ended up just taking the top 20 from the open to do the games. And then we did them. It was in our gym, which was kind of stupid, but still counts. Yeah. So that was, I mean, it was kind of a last resort. I didn't really train for the games, but I did for the open. So I think, I don't know, I was proud of getting top 20 in the world, I guess. So that was fun. I think I ended up in like 10th place overall too, which I was happy with as well.
Yeah.
And then I joined Mayhem, where I actually really learned a lot.
Here we go.
So that,
there we go.
That was really nice.
Okay. How'd that come around first off? How'd that reach out?
Yeah. So I stuck with the same female from OC3, Taylor Williamson.
Okay.
So met her there. We did OC3 together. And then she actually moved to Knoxville, Tennessee to do her PA school. And then she got connected with Mayhem. That's when they had their other two females leave. So she said that she'd be able to do it and kind of travel there. You still have to live within a radius and be there 51% of the time. And then she called me one day, like in December. You have to decide by like January 1st. Yeah. And she asked if I would be into doing it. And I was like, well, I don't have any other plans. I do own a gym, so I can like get people to cover my hours. So yeah, I'll do it. So I lived in Cookeville, Tennessee, 51% of the time, and trained. So most of my training was done there. And it was actually a great way to learn how bad I was at gymnastics. They taught me a lot about, so at that point, I was just like the strong girl teammate, I guess you'd call it. And I was not after that year. Like everything switched. Their training, they would meet and then they do like all their Metcons and then lift, which was like way different for me.
Okay. Immediately after, or was there like a lunch break?
Nope, immediately after.
Delightful. Okay.
Yeah. And then there was a lunch break and then you come back and do a little bit more, whether it
Okay.
be like a smaller Metcon or just some cardio, whatever.
Mhm.
But that was like, I've never done that. I'd always done strength first, put all your time into strength, then do your Metcon and go home,
Mhm.
which made me like, I think I was the best athlete ever those 2 years, just because I think that's what I needed to really like it. I didn't occur to me that could even out the strength and like my Metcon gymnastics. They do a lot of gymnastics.
Mm.
They're so good at it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and then learning to kind of prioritize 2 sessions in the day, then just suck it up and do one full long one.
What does one full long one mean?
Like show up at like 9 a.m. and just train till like 3 p.m.
Like,
Just kind of like keep going and like have a few snacks, but like,
oh, okay. Okay.
yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like take an actual break away from the gym.
Okay. So it sounds like when you went in there, you were of those women, you were the hoss. Like that was like your calling card. Like she's going to move the weight, but
Yeah.
they had you do all the Metcons first and then strength. So they prioritized
Yeah.
what you
Or
had
like
to do.
Taylor and I were both like the strong girls of team before that.
Okay.
I mean, Taylor's still very strong, way stronger than me at this point, but, yeah. And then I think that was great for both of us, honestly. So that's where like both of us peaked pretty well. Just, we learned how to get better at things we just thought we sucked at and couldn't get better at. So it was knowing like how to flip your training. Like it just didn't occur to us before to prioritize anything other than strength right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they, when you went over there, did they kind of take that assessment into an account, or were they just like, this is just how we do it? And that's, since that was new for you, you were like, holy crap, this is working really well for me.
They are very routine. That's just how they do it.
Okay.
And it just happened to work out great. Yeah.
That's cool. And then do they do, because I know that like Chris Hinshaw tends to go around those parts pretty often. Does he have something to do with that programming, or like how things are being implemented for you guys?
Yeah, we were actually doing like a Hinshaw run progression throughout the time too. I'm never going to be a good runner. I was always a bad runner. So I did it. Still didn't show up to the games a good runner, but probably better than I would have been otherwise.
Hey, you're on the podium, so
yeah.
Is that because I'm a nerd? So I'm a strength and conditioning like nerd. It's what I do. Who is the one who writes? Does Rich write all this? Where it's like, okay, you're gonna do all the Metcons first.
Yeah. So what we would do, I mean, the blog. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know who writes the blog part of Mayhem at this point. But when we would show up, like all the athletes, it wasn't just our team. It was who's ever there to be an athlete. So they have a lot of people that will move there, and that's really cool. We'd show up in the morning, and more or less it would be Rich who would just make up a workout and write it on the board, and we go from there. We would follow the blog a little bit, especially the strength. They follow the strength portion of the blog, but the Metcons were maybe a weird version, or not a weird, a different version of the blog, or just a totally made up workout on the spot. But it was like based on what you'd done the day before, how everyone's feeling. So just picking random movements out.
Yeah, because that's a really great way to like Joe, I know you'll appreciate this, where everyone on that team has got to be somewhat stronger than the average CrossFitter across the board, even at that level. That's a great way. Because is your strength work still percentaged after that? Percentage based?
It was at the time. I think now it's more RPE, but
oh, that's delightful, because you're basically putting a handicap, Joe, on your strength, so you don't neurologically overload, but you keep that base.
Yeah,
that's delightful.
It worked. Yeah, it was nice.
Oh yeah. Okay, so it's 2 years there.
Yeah.
Okay, and you crushed both years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did pretty well.
Yeah, we can say
we
won,
it's,
so I'd
it's
say
okay.
We crushed.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay to be. It's okay. It's all right. You're an American. You have the right to say you're the best. So, and then, yeah, it's true. And then you went to Proven, right?
Yep.
Okay. How'd that come about? And then how was that coming from, like, working in and around like the GOAT, debatably the GOAT of CrossFit there? Like, what kind of a shift was that? I mean, it was a mentality shift, training shift, culture shift. I mean, what was it?
Proven still has a GOAT, just the female GOAT.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, the female.
Okay, no, we didn't really train with her because actually she was pregnant. So
okay,
which has been now like not to revert to this, but
Yeah.
it was great seeing her all last year because it makes me not want to be a little bitch.
Oh,
Basically.
delightful.
Yeah. Like, well, Tia was doing that when she was way more pregnant, so you're fine. Anyway, so we kind of just kept, so Taylor's husband started working for Proven. Rich was retiring, so he wasn't going to go team again. We did ask him. He said, nope, he's for sure retired. So we just found 2 other guys, and we kind of kept the same training sequence when we were together. They changed the rules so you didn't have to live there, which was nice for myself. And then the other guy, Tim Paulson, who owns an affiliate, he has a kid, married. So it was nice to go home and not live there.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we were together, it was kind of the same training, just doing it that way, kind of seeing what movements we need to work on. Yeah, we didn't really change our training. It kind of just,
because it works at that point, I guess. So it's
yeah. And then everyone coming into that team again, like the 2 guys we had super strong. So like when we were together, we didn't need to do strength, which was nice. So we just did mostly Metcons.
Okay.
Yeah. And then our second place finish doesn't really represent that. I mean, this is not an excuse because the other team was just way better than us at things, but the programming just wasn't the greatest for us. So I'm actually impressed how well we did with the given programming.
Fair.
So, yeah.
Fair. We've heard.
There's a lot of gymnastics.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Delightful.
We were some big people, so yeah.
We were some big people doing a lot of gymnastics.
No, like I was the little one of the team, and I'm 157-pound female.
Oh, you were?
That shouldn't be that way. Yeah, I was like the tiny one.
Okay.
Like that should never happen. It's fine.
Delightful. Well, that is all I wanted to cover before we get to questions, Joe. Do you have any other big questions from you before we start going to the crowd?
Yeah, I think a cool thing to touch on, because of like considering how things started off for you, and then you had this like moment in time that occurred, and then you ended up being, on the top of the mountain at some point. Can you touch a little bit more on your ACL reconstruction and what that process was like, and like how people navigate, or at least for yourself, how you navigate through that? So I'm working with the UFC guy right now who's post ACLR. He's fighting in December, and it's, people always say, oh, once you have an ACL reconstruction, it's all done. Did they do the hamstring? What they end up doing with you? And then
no, we did the patellar tendon. We were gonna do cadaver, but having a dead person part of me freaks me out, so we didn't. But also it's just a lot different in CrossFit because we don't cut, like we're not kicking, there's not a lot of like twisting and turning, so it's a lot safer to return at a higher level earlier. So I mean, like UFC, football, soccer, like those would be so much harder to return to just because of all the cutting they have to do. But basically it happened in February or like of 2018. They kept me on the roster for the team. I had the surgery done. I did some of my PT, quit it pretty early though to go train. And then, so I did a lot of like single leg stuff. Like I do a lot of accessory on the side, but I didn't listen to any of the protocols. And I didn't really fully rehab it either. Like to this day, like kneeling really hurts still, or like I don't have full range of motion. So what I did was really stupid. It was too much sacrifice for like a small reward, I guess is what. So I don't know if it'll ever fully come back, like the mobility and all that, but I just wanted to get back to CrossFit so bad that I just kind of cut corners and made it work for that year. And then after the games, so I was still wearing like a Don Joy at the games and stuff, and I looked like a stupid robot. But after that, I took that summer, like that time, and kind of did more of like the actual PT stuff. It might have been too little too late, but I wouldn't ever do what I did. It was dumb.
It sounds like it kind of worked. No, well, I mean, no, it's fine. It sounds like it kind of worked because it got you to where you needed to be. But like the thing is, I think it's a testament to the psyche you have to be able to be able to push through and just say, all right, I'm just going to send it. This is the way it is for me right now, and I'm just going to go after it. Especially when you're moving just straight up and down, like as far as
Yeah.
compromise goes, you're not necessarily
Yeah.
like quote unquote like too compromised because you're not cutting. But again, you're not a lost cause. It's okay. There's still hope for you for your knee.
Okay, that's
It won't
great.
fall off.
Maybe I can
Yeah.
take this time, actually. That's a good point. Now we could take this time I have and really focus
There you go. Hey, take
on it.
advantage of
Thinking.
that relaxing, working through the body,
Yeah.
and you'll start to see that
Honestly.
mobility restore.
Yeah,
All
what
right,
is it?
cool,
Is it
thanks.
just sorry? Go.
No. I
Or
have
is it
nothing.
just stiff?
Yeah, and then there'll be like days where it just hurts so bad I don't really do much on it. I don't know. For a deeper level. Yeah, I need to I should take care of it.
Yeah. Did your PT have you do a lot of hamstring work?
I can't really remember. I did it for like 2 months.
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah.
So not the full 5.
No.
Oh. Okay.
2 months. 1 month of that was just on crutches, so there wasn't much to do.
Oh, rock on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, it's something. It's funny you bring that. Not funny. It's not funny. You have an ACL, but it's ironic because you know, Joe, like when I visited your gym, you got a delightful facility, and I don't know how much of that you purchased off the bat versus you added to, but you know, Joe, she's got a bevy of strongman equipment there. One of the few CrossFit gyms I've been to, very few, like less than a handful I've been to, and I've been to quite a few in my life, that has a lat pull down, low row combo, and a belt squat in the corner.
That was my husband, actually. That
was
wasn't
your
me,
husband?
but I agreed to get it. So
Okay. Have you
Yeah.
used it at all?
yeah, actually, I
Okay.
used that a lot, and the belt squat was really helpful, actually,
Yeah.
with rehab stuff. But
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm still wondering if you had gotten those for your you know rehab getting jack time, or that was just your husband having fun, eh?
it does personal training there, so that was more for his clientele.
Okay.
And it's nice for members that have injuries or like their backs hurt or something. Yeah.
Rock on.
Actually, no, I also wanted it because when I went to your gym, this was a long time ago. I don't know if you remember it, but you had me doing the marching, holding the bag, and I really wanted to do that more. And I do still do that.
You do?
Yeah.
Do you do
I
it?
love doing that.
Do you do it hard though? Do you?
Yes.
Is it passionate? Is there passion in your face?
I mean, I do it till like my legs are shaking and they're gonna be done. So I don't do it till I pee myself anymore. But
Well, okay, that's true. Can't do it all the time.
no. But I do the same. Yeah. So
That's
thank
good.
you for that.
Absolutely. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. All right. So, like I told you before, a lot of questions came
Okay.
in because you're a very popular person.
Rapid fire, quick answers.
Well, maybe we'll see. All right.
Okay.
Best bang for buck posterior chain weekly accessory work to fit into CrossFit classes. Yeah, there's a mouthful for you.
I am not an accessory person. You didn't hear that from me.
Mm.
I think that's an answer for you, actually.
Oh no, it's you. I don't run a
No.
CrossFit gym. I don't run CrossFit classes.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest too. I don't do the accessory programming. That's not me.
But who does?
I like CrossFit and I'm Metcon. I'm a Metcon person.
Okay.
Okay, so what shows up? A spin on that question. So what shows up in the accessories for those people most often? Would you say in the programming for you?
Well, a lot of banded work, I guess. I don't know.
You're killing us.
Like you're seeing a lot of banded.
Not a good first question because I don't know how to answer it for you.
Well, there are so many. It won't matter. They're gonna kill you in the comments, though.
Yeah, I know.
Don't worry about that. You're gonna get got. Let's move
And then
on.
I'm gonna
Let's move
close
on.
this out, open Wi-Fi, and be like, "Oh, there's my answer."
Oh, it's horrible. Oh God.
Can you just answer it, please?
Well, I can't answer that.
Why? You're like the expert on it. Come on.
Listen. Let me tell you something right now. If everyone in competitive CrossFit would start any type of session twice a week with a proper GHD for a simple 5x5,
Well, like an actual glute ham.
an actual so
Okay.
yeah, let me just really hone this in. A GHD glute ham developer, not for your quads, hips, lower lumbar, psoas, and ripping your abs apart. Not I'm gonna go out straight and lower my back and bring my back up like a back extension. Not I'm gonna go out straight, lower my back, throw my back up to get momentum to come all the way back up to the top. It's a shoulders, hips, and knees are stacked my knee's the only thing that moves. I go out until I'm parallel to the floor, and then I jam my Achilles into the back pad and I curl myself up with my hamstrings. Even if you have a band assisted, just a 5x5 on like an activated, like RPE of 5, if you will.
Yeah,
Intensity?
I also don't think that people know what GHD actually is.
Mhm.
So there's, yeah. Like they just assume it's like, yeah.
It's for
No.
my abs. Yeah.
They think it's for the abs.
exactly.
They think it's for abs. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I kind of stray away from having like the general population touch it. We have 2, so we don't even have enough for class. But
Yeah.
unless you know what you're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We talked about that earlier. Like, not a big fan.
No,
Not a big
and it's
fan.
too much that you can do incorrectly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You need to have like a session with like this person to show you if
Mm-hmm.
you're doing it right or wrong.
So you think 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 kettlebell swings and GHD sit-ups is not a good idea?
Oh, I think a better idea would be 80, 60, 40, 20, but then with ring muscle ups instead.
Oh, dang. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
She does a lot of gymnastics. That's why.
That makes
I
sense.
mean, that would have been a
Gymnastics queen.
workout. That would be a training games workout, honestly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'd have a migraine for hours after or something stupid.
Just massive headache.
Yep.
Massive headache. All right. Next one. The main difference in between programming between Mayhem and Proven.
Oh. Well, gymnastics volume. That's an
Wow.
easy one. Yeah. You're
What
gonna
kind
get
of
a lot.
percentage jump?
The what? Sorry.
What kind of percentage jump?
Oh, like honestly, 35% more.
Oh wow.
I mean, Mayhem is a lot of gymnastics.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. I can't stress like enough that you're gonna see gymnastics and like dumbbell, a lot of dumbbell, which is also great because I wasn't great at dumbbell. So it depends. Proven's gonna be a lot more strength work.
Okay. Yeah. On the whole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Volume wise, they're both pretty heavy on volume. So you're going to get volume either way.
Okay. What's been the best stress mitigation / like tactic / tool that you've come across in all your time to manage your stress? And it doesn't say psychological or physiological. So give me both.
All right.
What's best between the ears? What's best for the body?
When you get to know me, you get to know how high my anxiety is all the time. This is, I mean, I also need to learn how to do this. Oh, you know what? This isn't something a lot of people are going to do. Fostering dogs. I can't tell you how stress relieving it is to have a little buddy join your home for a couple weeks. And it's just so fun. And you look forward to seeing this new face when you go home. Honestly, so if you can't do that, which I understand a lot of people can't. I did start meditation.
Okay. Like
not long, like 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, not like 3 hours.
Yeah, no, I can't. No,
okay.
But centering yourself for even just 10 minutes is like huge.
Use like an app?
Just get an app, honestly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we have a lady at our gym that's really good at it, so she kind of taught me how, which was great. But if you don't have a nice yoga lady, you can just get an app.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about physically?
I mean, meditation is really physical when you do it. Try sitting still for that long. You mean like another stress reliever outside of?
Let's think like physiological
even
stress,
recovery.
Let's rephrase that with word recovery. How's
Lap
that?
swimming then. That's nice. Lap swimming.
Lap swimming?
Yeah. Low impact, clears your mind. There's no music playing, like you're not distracted. You can't hear anything else. It's just, you're just by yourself in the water. It's just like so rejuvenating. I get if you can't swim or you're not good at lap swimming, it's probably more panicky than anything, but just grab a kickboard then. You'll be fine. But there's something about just being in the water and like getting your heart rate up. That's so awesome. Yeah,
there's something like Joe. I tell my athletes too, if they can get away with it, get in the pool at least once a week.
Yeah, same here.
Just swim, man.
Yeah, you don't need a program. Like if you want, you don't need to kill yourself in the pool. You just need to move. It's so awesome.
Yeah, and it's easy on your joints.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
no-brainer. I
We
think
know we're water
swimming is a
creatures. Like
no-brainer.
we need the water.
yeah. I also agree too that it's kind of overlooked when people are swimming, like what that's doing for your intercostal muscles between your rib cage to then help you on dry land when you were breathing.
Yeah.
So your rib cage
Mhm.
can expand more rapidly. Like that's
Yeah, if
invaluable,
you
Yeah, I was
especially in
just
your
gonna
world. That's invaluable.
while you're doing it, then cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was just
Everything-
gonna do like a spin-off question to that. Like, does anybody do breath work at that level of CrossFit?
Yeah.
Intentional breath work.
There are. My teammate this year, Tim Paulson, was really into breath work. It's not for me, but yeah, there are people who definitely do a lot of breath work or like nose only, zone 2 cardio, stuff like that, or like intentional breath manipulation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Happy to hear that showing up there.
no, when I was at Knox and Bliss, that's what we had a lot of soldiers do. Was just we used to force them to only breathe through their nose when they were conditioning, so they wouldn't go, go past third gear, if you
Yeah.
will.
No,
They
it does
stayed there.
help you with that. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Joe, what did you get any questions in? I don't want to hog all this from all
Yeah,
my.
no, I
Yep.
did. My wife actually had a question for you. She said, and you kind of you went by it like a little bit quick, but it had to do with nutrition. She's always
Oh, okay.
fascinated with that stuff. So you said that you were like 120 something pounds, and then you're competing roughly 150s, correct?
Yeah.
So what was that switch for you, and like how did your food actually change for you when it came to like
Oh,
finally dialing in your nutrition?
yeah, no, it changed very drastically. So I used to not obviously, but a lot of females fall into this rut where they think less is more, like starve yourself, go do cardio, eat as little as possible, fat-free, low-fat stuff, sugar-free, like that's the way to go. So I was doing a lot of that, just thinking like I'm still eating, so it's fine, but like obviously that's not fueling you. So I actually did like a nutrition cert, and it just kind of taught, it wasn't really to be a nutrition consultant or anything like that or have clients, just for me to learn. And then learning through that, like how to fuel. And then once I started doing that, just how much better I felt in workouts. So like eating carbs was huge for me. I was not doing that at all. I would have like a Quest bar for breakfast, and then I'd maybe have a salad for lunch. And that was like all I'd have for the 2 training sessions. And it really felt like garbage. I mean, I didn't know it at the time till I started eating real food. Like breakfast now is like my biggest meal by far. I love it. I wake up really hungry and I have training that day. So like, why not go for broke on breakfast? Learning what your body does. And that's not for everyone. There's some people where like lunch is going to be their biggest, which is great too. But learning to like, my body really loves carbs. Some people's bodies really love and process fats better. And just kind of playing around with that, manipulating it. I did have a nutrition coach for a little bit too. So he helped me figure that stuff out. But you don't need to count macros forever. Like you can start by doing that. And I think it's great if people do that to learn how to eat or learn how your body works. But I don't think counting macros is a forever thing people should be doing. Like you should then just be in tune with yourself after a while and kind of run with it, I guess. Yeah.
No, it's cool. Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
valuable thing to share for sure.
Yeah. And like once you start gaining muscle, like you realize it's really empowering, not to sound cheesy. So I just wanted more of that. Like I just wanted to keep gaining muscle because it felt so powerful. So then obviously with that comes more weight, which is fine at that point.
Yeah.
We're both very familiar with that feeling.
Yeah.
I want to be powerful. I need more muscle.
Yeah. Well, it's different for guys than for girls. We weren't like, I wasn't brought up or like I'm 34, so I very much grew up in like the almonds mom era, where like, I don't know, muscles are icky and you want a flat butt, you want to look skinny. Like that's what I grew up thinking was beautiful, and what was feminine. So it did take to like my late 20s to really learn. So yeah, I started bring on the muscle.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, bring on the game.
Yeah, it's another one that came through was something that just had to do with like the mental blocking that you have to experience at that level that you've competed at or that you do compete at. Like I think the way he was trying to communicate this question was how did you finally tap into that sensation of like the blackout sensation? Like, I'm just going to zone out, get on this bike, hammer it because I got people next to me that are trying to beat me and take my food. When did that really start evolving for you?
Mm, it's an addiction. So once you do it the first time, I mean, like, I don't know, it just starts to feel really good. And that's where I think why I kept going team, because you get to experience that also in training. And I think that's why all these training camps are kind of forming as well, just because it's easier to do, obviously, when you're with people. I mean,
Mhm.
there's been times where like I've redlined on my own, or like maybe an open workout or something, but you don't go into the gym by yourself and like completely black out unless you're like against someone else. So I think the more I did team, the more I just like started to crave it more than just at competition. So I don't know, it was just something it was like I needed my fix. I don't know how to, not to keep bringing up like
Yeah.
addiction or mental illness
Yeah.
here, but it's something, I mean, it's a healthy way to live. I guess it's not a bad thing, but like surrounding yourself with other people that will go to that level, and like you just keep pushing each other back and forth, and you just come to want that every
Yeah.
time you train.
Mhm.
Well, not every time, but most times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Cool.
Well, Joe, I have two more on here. Do you have any
Go
more that
ahead.
got written in? You're
You're good.
okay. So I have two more. One's pretty heavy, and one's
Ooh.
really light. So we'll end on the light one because Joe does not like
Okay.
ending, and I'm speaking from the third person and from this
Want me
guy's
to start
perspective on a
crying and
heavy
then you
note.
can
We
just
don't
shut it
like
down?
doing that.
Okay. Oh, I'm
So
nervous
oh
though.
yeah. So the heavy one was, what was the biggest sacrifice you've had to make in the last 5 years of competing, and
Oh,
does that still like weigh on you now?
okay. That's fair. That's fair. Well, I guess the biggest sacrifice, so I did have to move for a few teams, and throughout that time, throughout the training, I have lost a handful of really good friends that just weren't into CrossFit, so they didn't understand. So it kind of turned into me kind of like becoming selfish in a way. I really put training over these friendships, and they're friendships I wish I still had. Like they're ones from literally grade school, uh, people who, yeah, I've known at that point like 15 years of my life. And I really didn't make time for them. I could have easily done that, but I just didn't. So throwing myself all into CrossFit like that, just looking back, I feel so stupid. So not realizing that like you don't need to actually make it your whole life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe now that I got some time too, I'll reach back out.
Right. Well, I mean, not you're going to be a mother. You have all the time in the world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And the light one to end on that was written in. I'm surprised I didn't get more. I got a couple and they're all around the same genre.
Okay.
What's the absolute best story you have of Rich Froning and or that team competing or training during your 2 years with them?
What's like a good story, I guess? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe a funny one. Maybe a light story. A light story to complement what we just went over there. A light one.
You know, it's not really a story, but it's like a personality trait.
Okay.
He's actually way funnier than he comes across on like Mayhem Media and like any YouTube channel. Like this man, he'll rip farts. Like he watches The Office. He's a very normal, fun person. Not that it doesn't come across that way, but he comes across more serious and like, dedicated to CrossFit and like this is life and all that stuff. And like, and he's family oriented, whatever. But as a person, like he's fun. And I was shocked by that.
Yeah.
We have the like three of our favorite shows are like kind of the same, like Ted Lasso, The Family Guy, and then The Office. And I was floored because I mean, also like very Christian. So I just thought like they wouldn't watch shows that are a little edgy like that.
Right.
But hey,
Right.
that's cool.
Yeah.
It's actually like a cool person. Yeah.
Okay. He's actually like a cool person.
Yeah. Like does
There you go.
normal things out.
Does normal things.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we could make, yeah, like I was saying, we could make fart and poop jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay.
that's who I am. So Yeah,
Well-
glad we could meet there.
Yeah. Well, is there
Yeah.
anything you want to leave us with, leave the listeners with, anything you want to plug?
You know, if you're in the Twin Cities area, you gotta check out Timberwolf Fitness,
There you go.
and then adopt a dog while you're at it.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
that's it.
It's a great
right.
message.
All right. Well, thank you for coming by. Stick around real quick. We'll get some information from you and let you go. But until next time, this is Relevant to Strength, episode 39. That's a wrap.